Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Katie. I'm a full-time sketchbook artist, and today I'm going to be sharing 5 different ways to improve your art practice. So I think it's really important for us to continually improve our skills and our art practice, and it not only helps us to see our progression, but it also helps us stay motivated, and I just think it's really nice to be able to see us gain skills, learn different things, and it can really help us feel more fulfilled. Obviously, I also think it's important just to create for the fun of it and not necessarily to try and improve, but I think that comes naturally, and I'm going to be talking about my tips today. I hope you enjoyed this video and let me know what you think down below in the comments. So tip number 1 is to use art challenges and art prompts. So you might have seen my video a couple of weeks ago where I shared the pros and cons for art challenges, but I really do think it's a nice way to improve your art and also to challenge yourself on different subjects and different prompts that you wouldn't normally pick. So not only is it good for community building, but it's also really good for building your own skills. I know I usually pick and choose prompts, but if I was dedicated to a specific challenge and there was a prompt that I probably would shy away from, I think it's a really good thing to push yourself to try and do it. Drawing things outside your comfort zone and challenging yourself can create some really interesting things, so even if it becomes a piece of artwork that you're not super proud of, you've still learned something, and I think the bad art that you create is just as good and just as important as the good art. Now, obviously I'm using those in inverted commas because bad and good is something that I don't really believe in, but just the practice and the creation of this work that you're pushing yourself to do can be really invaluable for your skills. So as well as these art challenges and prompts, you can create them yourself, and so there's probably a subject that you know that you shy away from and that you're not super confident in. For me, that is figures. So last year I was trying to push myself and doing a bit more life drawing, and I've fallen off the wagon a bit. So for me, I think I can practice figures a bit more and stop shying away from them and try and focus my practice on that, because I think that will really help. If I want to add figures into my landscapes in the future, I won't feel as scared to do that. And I just think broadening my subjects is always really good. It might not necessarily come into my everyday art, but just knowing how to do something like that I think will feed in other ways. Whether that's quality of line and focusing on that, or the details, or maybe just focusing on figures will lead me to a new medium which I can then push into my art practice elsewhere. So there's loads of different ways that you can do different prompts and challenges, but I think it's a really good one for pushing out your comfort zone and practicing something new. Number 2 is learning from other people. So learning from other artists and creatives is a huge way we can improve our art. What better way to get advice and techniques than from professionals who share their own skills and allow us to pick up so many different things from their techniques that they share and have picked up over so many years. When I first started illustrating alongside my 9-to-5 job, Skillshare was my go-to, and I'm so proud to share that they are sponsoring today's video. Skillshare is the largest online learning platform, and it's filled with thousands of classes that range a huge amount of skills and hobbies. That includes illustration and design, but also things like animation and productivity. One of their new class topics is creative inspiration, and if you've been on my channel before, you know it's a huge part of my job and something I really love to talk about. I'm currently taking Skillshare's learning path all about watercolour. So watercolour is a medium I've only really started to use in the past year or so, but it's become my go-to medium when I want to be looser, and I found it really fun to use. The learning path is a curated sequential class collection to master a skill. So for this one, there's 5 different courses all about watercolour, and it covers things like colour mixing and brush control, as well as composition and creating whimsy in our illustrations. You can see here where I was following Amy Kesey's class and having so much fun mixing different colours. Even though I know some colour theory, it's always so important to continue learning or even go back to basics and refresh our skills. I really love the idea of a colour recipe book and having it to reference for future work, so I know this is going to be super handy. I also loved painting and playing with watercolour blooms in Kat Coquelette's class, and that's all about 5-minute creativity. Again, that's another topic I touch on a lot here on my channel about finding time for getting creative, whether that's 5 minutes or 5 hours. Doing these classes in chunks has been a really manageable way for me to fit it into my day, alongside my usual work, and still get in a bit of creative development. The first 500 people who click my link in the description will receive a 1-month free trial for Skillshare. I definitely recommend checking it out, and I'd love to know which class you'll be taking down below in the comments. So tip number 3 is drawing from life. I think whenever people say that and hear that, they often think life drawing. Like I mentioned, I do want to practice figures, but I'm more talking about observational drawing, so drawing from real life. So many times I reach for references and even if I'm drawing something in front of me, I generally will take a photo of it first and then I'll come back to it later, rather than drawing in the moment. Earlier this year, I did do a Drawing from Life month on Patreon, and I found that really, really important and invaluable for me. I loved that month, and I really surprised myself. So as I said, I usually do use references a lot, but it really taught me a lot when I was just focusing on Drawing from Life. And so I didn't use any photo references that month, and I loved it. I really surprised myself how much I enjoyed it, and it's definitely something I want to do more. Because it is a theme on Patreon, I do move on quite quickly, but it's something I want to do more of. And it's definitely helped by taking my sketchbook along with me. So I think that's going to be a goal for 2025 for me personally, is to take my sketchbook along with me and draw more from life. So when I'm sat waiting in the car, I can draw things that I see out the window. I can draw my tea and my food because I really enjoyed doing food illustration this year. And just drawing from observation is going to really help improve my skills. And that's mostly because you're taking something 3D and you're turning it into 2D. When it's already a flat reference image and the photo, it's already 2D, so you generally don't have to work as hard. And the other thing is, it's going to be more personal to you because it's your life. You can have really unique things in your sketchbook that nobody else will have ever drawn because you've got this very unique thing in front of you, and you can grab 3 different things from your house and create your own still life. And nobody else will have those exact 3 things. The other thing is you can also change the angles. So a lot of the time with stock photography and from these copyright-free image sites, the photos are obviously very curated and the photographer has already worked out the composition. But for you, you can really play with that, so you can adjust how it is, you can change the angle and look at it from above or from below, rather than the front-on image that you generally will see on these stock image sites. So it can be really playful, it allows you to have a bit more creativity in how you want to set things up, and then also, as I said, taking the 3D, turning it into 2D into your sketchbook. It's a really good way to improve your art, and it's definitely something I'm going to do more of. Tip number 4 is kind of in contrast to tip number 1, but I think it's really important if you do want to improve your art practice. And that is to find something that you're really passionate about drawing. You won't want to continue your art practice and drawing if you're going to be challenging yourself every day. So whilst I think that is important, I don't think it's something that you should do all of the time because you're going to get burnt out and you're not really going to enjoy it. So as much as it is important to push yourself out your comfort zone, it's also important to be able to go back to something you absolutely love. For me, that's landscapes. I absolutely love painting landscapes, and for me, I can still push myself creatively, even sticking with that subject, so I can choose different landscapes and different ways of pushing myself with that. So if you find something that you really enjoy drawing, then always go back to that, because that's where your passion will come from. There's no point forcing yourself to draw different things every single day when you know you really want to draw something else. So follow that creative spark and find that thing that really lights you up, and then you can use that to move forward. So you might really enjoy painting still lifes. You can do things like master studies and really study other artists' work, but you can also push yourself with colours, so maybe you usually just do the realistic colours, but then you could improve your understanding of colour by maybe changing the colours and tweaking that. Or you can use different brushes and upskill there. So you can stick to your comfort zone subjects but still improve your art because you want to draw. And that's also going to lead on to tip number 5, because the more you draw, then the better you're going to get. So tip number 5 is that age-old piece of advice that you're told all the time and probably is sick of, but that is to practice. Draw, draw, draw again, paint whatever you want to do, but it is really important to just keep it up and to practice it all the time. I'm not saying it has to be daily, but if you can fit it in daily, then that's perfect. And I did find doing my daily art challenge was a really big catalyst for my artistic growth. But even if you don't do it every day, just create as much as you possibly can. Work out what you want to change. Like with tip number 4, work out how you can push it further and how you can develop the idea. If it's a piece you don't like, then ask yourself why. Analyse what it is that you don't like and then use that as your jumping off point for your next piece. That way you can see how you can improve it, and it doesn't have to be a boring thing. You can work it into the challenges or find ways for it to inspire you. So you can draw constantly and carry a sketchbook with you, and then circling back to prompt number 1, you can create your own personal drawing challenges, where you create daily or more regularly than you currently do. It's a great way to really advance your skills quickly. Obviously it does take a lot of time and commitment, but even if it's 10 minutes a day, it really does stack up quite quickly, and it's surprising just how much you can progress your skills by doing so. It's also better than doing nothing at all, so I think in 2025, and maybe I'll do a video about my creative resolutions towards the end of the year, but I would like to pick up my phone less and scroll less and open my sketchbook more. So those are my 5 tips for improving your art practice. I'd love to know if you do any of these already, or if you have your own tips, please do share them with the community down below in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. A big thank you to my patrons and also to Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. I hope you have a creative week, and I will see you next Sunday in my new YouTube video. See you later!